Hi there, welcome back. I'm Penny at Salt and Wool Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make Proddy sunflowers. Now these sunflowers that I have made here, I'm actually going to cut them out when I'm all done, and I'm going to back them and stuff them and add a stick to them and make them more lifelike, and then we're going to add them to a little tin bucket on our front step for the summer season. So it'll be a nice summer decor. So let's get started and I'll show you how we're going to be making these beautiful flowers. There's a few materials that you'll need to make this craft. And the first one is a couple Oasis blocks. Now I used 3. But it depends on the size of the container you use. So I have a big metal bucket, and my bucket holds 3 of these blocks. So you'll need a metal bucket or something to put your stems into. I suggest something nice and big to lay it on the front step. You're going to need some moss. This is just regular crafting moss that you can get at the dollar store. And I bought bamboo garden stakes, and I cut them at 34 inches, and they came like 8 in a pack. So these are great, and they're just the right size. They're not too big. And so this time of year, I can't get outside in the woods anywhere to cut some alders, twist sticks, or birch or something to make my stems. So this is a great alternative if you can't do that. Something else you'll need is glue gun and some glue sticks. You can also, instead of using that, you could use a needle and thread and sew your sunflowers around as you're putting them together. But I did that with one, and I didn't find the sewing actually worked really well. The sticks were still loose, so you really need to glue those on. The other thing you'll need is a little box cutter tool and maybe a zip tie for your bow at the end, and a little bit of burlap or ribbon or something for your bow, and of course the stuff to make your Proddy flowers. So now the first step to do for making your Proddy flowers is we are going to cut the petals. So I have a bunch of wool cloth here that I have dyed in different shades of yellow. And these are my scraps from before, the ones that I've made. And save your scraps. Don't throw out your scraps when you're making your petals. Because we're going to use that later, and I'll show you that later on what I'm going to do. So the key to making your little petals, so you fold your material, whatever you're using. If you're using wool or whatever fabric, you can use any type of fabric for doing these. And I'm going to start, so I'm just going to make this shape here like a leaf, and I'm going to cut that side. And then I'm going to cut that side. And what I have now is this. See? So this is the shape that you want to make. Now you don't want them really big. I'm going to say they're probably, let me just see here. So you're probably going to want them between 1.5 inches and 2 inches on each side. So your actual fabric width then would be 3 to 4 inches. So 3 to 4 inch fabric width. So let's just fold it this way, and I'm just going to check this now. Yeah, so that would be perfect. So I'm just going to fold that over like so, and I'm going to make some leaves here. This is such a fun crafting activity, and I love hooking, and this is a really nice way to do something a little different. there we go. So I have all my little Proddy petals made from that piece of fabric, and I've got 3, 4, 5, and this one here is actually a little bit big, so I'm going to make that smaller right now. Here we go. So I have 6 petals so far. So I'm going to need a lot more than that. And these are my scraps, so they're going in my scrap pile over there. The best way to make your little petals is when you fold the fabric, hold it with the folded side towards you in your hand. So my folded side is right here. So I'm holding it like this, and then you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to cut the shape of like a leaf. Like so. It takes a little bit of practice. So once you cut up that side, turn it around, and then you're going to cut down. But you're not going to cut down to the point on the other side. You're going to cut to the side of that. See that? Hang on. Let's see if I can bring that up close to you. So see how I cut that? So then when I open up my petal, this is what I have. Now that one actually, there was a little bit of dye on the pan that didn't get washed off. So it got onto my yellow, but that's okay. I'm going to put that there. I may still use it. It gives it a little bit of character. Why not? So that's the first one. So now let's do some more. And I'm just going to come up close so you can see. Whoop. You need quite a few petals to do a sunflower. I would say, let me see. So I have this piece of fabric here and one more. There we go. So 2 of those might be enough to make one sunflower. So it is quite a little bit of fabric, as you can see. So it's like this much here. And might even need a 3rd one, actually, now that I look at that really well. Here we go. So here are the petals, and I'm going to see now if that's enough. Might not be, but hopefully that'll be enough to do one. So that's our petal part of our sunflower. So I'm going to lay that over there. Now the next thing for your centers. So I've used everything for my centers. I like different colors, centers, and different styles of centers. So I cut up some brown velour strips, so you can see these, like they're shiny, they're really pretty. So I'm going to lay those over there. So that's my brown velour. I have some dark brown wool that I'm going to use. It's all full of fiber from the velour, so it's still a little shiny, but not bad. So I'm going to use that brown. I have a light brown here. I might use a little bit of that. I have some wool cloth. Now, the wool cloth that I had in my sunflower already, I hooked a lot of it already. So I do have another piece of wool cloth here that I might use. And some wool strips. Might use those. And another piece of wool cloth here. So I'm going to lay that over there. Now, I have this black velour wool. Now, this is a mess, really, really tangled up. It came to me like this, by the way. I'm not responsible for this knotted up mess. But anyway, this is really pretty in your center, but there's a problem when you're hooking velour knit wools like this, and they're very slippery. Like this is extremely slippery, so you got to have a bit of patience when you're hooking to pull this up and to get it to stay in place until you get enough there pulled up through that it actually stays and it's not moving about. So I have used it. I've done one sunflower head with this in it. I'm probably not going to use that anymore, but I will lay it there just in case I do. A little bit of black wool, have that. And so I have this other one. And I was debating, I might cut out. No, actually, I'm not going to use that. It's almost, it's pretty, but it's got a purple and green shade in it. I don't want that in my centers of my flower heads. But I love this wool cloth, so I'm going to find a use for it somewhere. And so that's that. And so let's go over to the other side now. Okay, so the first step is you need a guide. You need a circle on your backing. So what I've done, grab my Sharpie, and I used a roll of painter's tape. Well, it was handy here on the desk, and that's what I use. And I laid that down and I drew around it. Now, it depends on how big you want your sunflowers. If you want really big ones, like dinner plate size, well, then use that, or use whatever. Like, just make sure that it's something you're not going to mind if you're using a Sharpie, that it may get ink on it. So just be careful of that and mindful of that. Tape, don't care. This one here, wide roll packing tape. If I want smaller sunflower heads, I'll use this. So there's two sizes there, right? Like these are quite a little bit bigger. So I'm using this size, and I may do some small ones later, but right now I'm doing all of these big sized ones. So I'm going to do 5 that size. So I've drawn out my first, I've drawn out my 2 circles that I'm going to hook and show you. And the first thing you're going to do is take your strip of whatever you're using to hook. Now you can use any type of fabric or fiber for hooking your centers. When you're hooking the proddy part of your sunflower, you can use anything as well. Like if you have a yellow top, or maybe you want a different type of flower, I don't know, a daisy or something like that, do little circles and white petals or whatever. Like you don't have to do sunflowers. You can translate this to different types of flowers. Like you can hook dahlias, and that would be gorgeous. All you need is a little circle center like this size, and then hook 3 or 4 rows of proddy around outside of that. Beautiful, right? Like not too complicated. So, but for your inside, you want to hook in a circle. And so you're going to hook your first row in a circle, and then you're going to hook the row inside of that in a circle, and your next row in a circle, right till you get it all filled in. Let me start with putting the first one in here. And now let me show you my overhead view of what I've got done here. All right, so you can see I hooked one around. So now I'm going to do another row around, same thing again. So now it's time for our petals, and this is the fun part. There's 2 ways that I know of. maybe there's more, but there's only 2 ways that I know that you can actually hook these in. And the first way is to use the proper Proddy tool. And I don't have that, and I'm not buying that. I've seen it being used. To me, it's really awkward to use. And I guess it would be good to use the Proddy tool if you have, if your wrist is not strong or something like that, or you have a bit of arthritis, then the Proddy tool would make it easier for you to pull them through. But the way that I do it is very simple, but you have to make sure when you're doing it my method, you're not applying a lot of pressure on your hook, because you can risk breaking your hook. Okay, so the first step when you're hooking Proddy is to put your hook down like this, all the way in. And you're going to move it back and forth like this. You're going to make a hole there. See that? So I have a nice hole made in my backing. Now, the next step, when your hook is down, this is going to be underneath this petal. And I'm going to hook it. I'm going to grab it right on the tip. I'm going to try and grab it right here on the very tip of it. So I'm going to put my hook down, make my big hole like that, and I'm going to put my fabric behind, and I'm just going to pull up the very tip of it. See that? Now I can grab that and pull it through. Then the next hole you're going to make is not the very next one to it. You're going to come away a couple holes, and then you're going to make another big hole, put your hook all the way down. You're going to hook the other corner of your petal. So this is the one corner here, and you're going to try and hook the other corner now. And there it is. Do not hook onto this and work your hook back and forth, or you can risk breaking your hook, and you don't want to do that. So that's how you hook Proddy, just what I just did there. Now I'm just going to do it one more time. So I'm going to put my hook down. I'm going to not hook the very next one. Never hook right next to another Proddy hole. It will weaken your foundation too much, I find, and it's too much. It's like packing wool, same thing. So you're going to make the big hole. You're going to pop the end, pull it up, and then you're going to make another big hole, like so. Hook the end, pull it up. Do not grab a hold of that and be yanking with your hook. If you do that, you will break your hook. I'm just warning you, do not do that. So here we go. Make your hole, pop it up. And there's a burlap hole there, one there, and then we're going to make a hole, hook it on, pull it up. That's hooking Proddy. Okay, so now let's go to our sunflowers. So I've got this in about as close as I can get, and I'm going to select a place very close to the edge of what I have hooked, and I'm going to put my fabric underneath, and I want to grab that tip, remember? So I just tipped the tip around my hook like this. Just the very tip, like that is what you're going to do. So when my hook goes down, I'm going to wrap the very tip around it. Now, the other thing you're going to do is you have to make a hole. So you're going to work your material, your backing, to make your hole, like so. See that? Like I just opened that up. It's like a door. So I grab the tip of my leaf, my petal, and there it is there. Now, do not force your hook with this, or you will break your hook. So you're going to put your hook down. You're going to grab that tip, pull it up. There we go, just like that. And that's the way that you do Proddy. So the next hole I'm going to select now, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 away, make my hole again, Gonna pop that corner out. Now, if I'm doing this, see what I just did then? That was the wrong thing to do. You want to put your hook down, just get the tip, like that, and pull it up. If you're applying like that, you're going to break your hook, and you do not want to break your hook, especially if it's the only hook you got. So now I'm selecting another hole, just a few away. Same thing again. There we go. That's it. Another important thing to know is, so pretend this is my flower head here, and I'm going to hook my first proddy. So I'm going to put my hole here next to the center. Then my next hole to this is going to be, hang on now, is going to be behind it, 2 or 3 holes out from it. And put your hook down and pop up your corner like that. You don't put your next hole to the side of your petal. Go behind it. You want your leaves to fall this way, away from the center head. So the next one I would choose would be a couple holes over, and then just put my hook down, pop the corner through, go behind it again, choose a hole a couple out from it, hook down, like so. And that's it. And that's how you're going to do every sunflower head. Now I'm going to go around it and just check and make sure that I don't have any spaces between my center and my petals. And I want to make sure that it's all nice and closed off here. And I see one right here. So I'm going to put another leaf in there. And I'm just going to pick one of the smaller ones that I cut to do that. So I'm just going to go there and make my hole, pull it up. There we go. And then I'm going to pick a place in the back to pull the rest through. And oh, I can't see. Aha, right here. There we go. Perfect. So then I'm checking around and everything else looks great. So that was the only place. And I love how ruffled up this is. Like, this is beautiful. Now we're going to go on to our last flower to do. And I'm going to set up my camera again here. And I'm just going to turn it. So I have the hook, the center to this one. And I'm going to put away the petals. Okay, now I'm carefully cutting it off of my frame, and once I get that done, I'll show you. Just beautiful. Now the next step when you cut them out and lay them down, and just make sure, check your backs and make sure they're all nice and clean and everything looks good there. There's a little hole there, so I have to fix that one there. See that? So just give me a second, I'm going to fix that. The next step now is to cut around your circles. Once I got them all cut out, I'm going to shape around them and cut them into circles. Then I'm going to take my yellow cloth fabric and I'm going to trim that into a circle the same size as my flower heads that I made in the beginning on my linen backing. So I got out my heavy-duty glue gun trusty, dusty glue gun. After I cut my circles out, I glue gunned in the ends. I glue gunned it all into the inside. You see that? Like I glue gunned it all in on my sunflowers, like so. And next step is going to be to put the sticks on. So I'm just going to show you now how I'm going to do this for these sticks, because this is going to be a little tricky, but we'll get it to work. So this is the end that was cut, and that's the end I'm going to use. So I want my stick, I'm just going to zoom in here now so you can see really well. There we go. And there. So I want my stick, when it goes laid onto the sunflower, I want it to go right to here, like not at the very end, but very close. Like I want this much of the support onto the sunflower, and that's going to give it more, make it more stronger. So that's what I'm going to do there. The next thing I'm going to do is glue gun, and I'm going to glue onto this stick, like so. It's a hot mess, but you want lots of glue. And then you're going to lay that down in place where you want it, where I wanted it there. So I'm going to hold it there until it sets now. So after I get these sticks all glued on into place, I'm going to glue around and put the backs on. But I'm going to leave a hole at the base of each sunflower by the stick. Okay. Got some little bit of stuffing to go in here. Oops. So it might be easier, I thought about it after the fact, of course, turn up your sunflower like this when you're stuffing it so you can hold down your petals. And then you just push your hand, push your stuff down in it like this. Right? Your woolly bits. Like, that seems to be a much easier way to do this. And you're not pulling in all the petals from your sunflower either then to the inside, although I did pull out it. Yeah, okay, there we go. This is such a fun thing to do. Okay, now we're going to glue it close, and we're just going to stick some glue in here like so. I'm just going to fill it up and make sure I got lots in there. And I'm going to push it too with my fingers. And just be really careful you don't burn yourself. And I just hold it gently in place until the glue catches. And that's it. And that's how we close up our sunflowers. Now you can sew them closed and stuff, but I just found that didn't work so well. So this method worked much better. Okay, so the next step is you have your oasis blocks. You're going to jam 3 of them down if you have a bucket like mine. Just make sure you can get them in here. You can glue these to the bottom if you'd like. I don't think I'm going to. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep with this container. But for now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to just jam them in there like this. I'm going to not take off the plastic off of them because I don't want these getting wet outside. I'm going to take my box cutter knife. I'm going to score a little X right here, like so. I'm going to score one over here. 2. 3. Now, I'm making an extra hole or 2 here. And that's because I haven't decided the position of these sunflowers till I start driving them in. But that's all I'm doing. I'm just making a square, puncturing through that plastic. So it's not going to be hard for me to drive them in. So my first sunflower now, I'm going to stick in here. And see the hole that's there? So I'm going to tip that way, and I'm going to push this right on down, like so. Perfect! That actually worked out really well. So here's my second hole. Now be really careful with the bamboo, you don't get a splinter. There we go. That's two. So I have these drove into my Oasis block. And you can at this point glue them in, but I'm not going to glue these because I haven't decided if I'm going to keep them in this. Now your next thing that you would do is put rock in the bottom. I don't have any rock right now because it's winter here still. We have a lot of snow, but I would put rock in the bottom of my can, and then any burlap scraps that I have, I'm shoving down around that just to keep it stable. My next step would be to add the moss. So I'm going to do that next. Now you can glue gun the moss in place. I have a piece of old burlap, and I'm not a fan of burlap, but I'm going to use this. And I'm going to make a pretty bow. And I'm going to tie that onto my bucket. So that's my plan here now. And let's see how that goes. Now I probably have some fabric or like a linen ribbon already here somewhere. I'm sure I do actually. I just don't know where right off. So I'm just going to tie this into a bow. Let's see. Now to make this little bow, all I did was I cut out a long strip, tied them all in a bow, and I zip tied them together. And I used a piece of yellow fabric, a piece of burlap, and a piece of yellow wool, and that's it. So there are a few ways that you can add leaves to your stems, and the way that I'm going to do it in the essence of time is I have some leaves in my craft storage bin, and I'm going to stick these on with a bit of glue and tack them. Another way, you can rug hook your leaves and use a stiff backing and apply them that way, or you can cut long strips of a green fabric and just tie it around in a knot and let the fabric hang, and that would replicate leaves as well. So there's a few choices for you. And that's this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and following along today. Please tell your rug hooking friends about me and help me grow my page. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.